What's crack? Big dogs. Welcome. Bike to the channel. Welcome to the new headquarters. This is the new digs for the time being. We're in studio. We're in the BDGE headquarters. First time recording anything in here. Uh-oh. I got the YouTube in the background already fucking this up. What else would that be? So yeah, we're in the new studio. We're gonna get this together, I promise. But as life goes on, NFL things are happening. We have the combine taking place this week. Yesterday was the first day of the combine. So we had quarterbacks, we had wide receivers, we had tight ends. A lot of promising guys that we're excited about didn't end up testing, but there's still plenty of nonsense that happened yesterday. This was a really first fun day of the combine. Today, later on, we will have running backs ripping off, which is probably and arguably a much more enjoyable, fun day, especially for like Dynasty Twitter, because dudes love to yell about like 40 times when it comes to running backs. But I thought it would be nothing better than to bring on a good friend of mine in Ray GQ over here. He's like the king of everything Devy and college players going on in the content creation space. He's one of few guys out there that can, hold down his own individual show. He's just got the X factor, man. I really respect him as a content creator. And we go back and forth in the DM sometimes. Some talking about business, talking about content. A lot of times we're just yelling about like fat running backs from Oklahoma. This year will be no different than that. So I want to welcome to the channel. A lot of you guys probably know him. If you don't know him, make sure that you go subscribe to his YouTube channel and follow him on Twitter. Link down below. Ray GQ, my man, you are on mute. Just letting you know. You probably already knew that because you're a dynamite content creator, but yes, he's off mute now. Ray GQ, what's going on, baby?
Yes, sir, baby. What's happening, Nick? Man, I'm excited, bro. Like, man, appreciate the introduction. Loving the new digs you got over there. I got to make a trip back to New York, man, to check it out when you get everything situated. But yeah, man, crazy shit. We were talking last night, man. A lot of content to talk about from everything that popped off yesterday. Running backs, we got some height and weight today. A lot of people not doing shit. A lot of people doing shit. So it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, I was a big fan of you piecing together CON with the fucking tent emoji. You couldn't tell from my excitement, but that kind of made me, I went off when you did that. I was like, I'm stealing that immediately. I was like, we got hella content for tomorrow. I was excited about the show. I know Ray's excited about the show. We got a lot of stuff to recap. But before we get into it, man, what do you got going on over there? I know you're a busy guy, so thank you for coming on the show. But like, tell me some plans you got for Destination Devy and just Mr. Ray GQ himself and what's going on in your world.
Yeah, man, just trying to grow it out, man. We talked 2 years ago and I was just trying to like get stuff in order and grow a YouTube channel and try to just be consistent with creating content. And 2 years later, that's taken shape, that's taken form. So the big thing for us is just refining the morning show, man. Wake up with Ray G Monday through Thursday. 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me and Jay Rich get on there, chop it up about football, basketball. We're really into the prop betting space right now, man. So just trying to create content. And much like you, man, there's a lot of content creators out there, dude, who want it all for themselves, right? Like it's mine. It's my stuff. It's everything's got to be Ray GQ. Man, I'm at the point now where I want to see other people on my team grow, bro. Like I'm adding new content creators to the podcast space, letting them jump on the video aspect of it, like trying to grow this thing, man. I just think you get a lot further, man, when you got good people around you that want to see you succeed and you want to push them to be the best that they can be. So I'm looking at the 4D guys that I have, Off the Line Fantasy, Elite Seekers with Ben Eby. So just trying to elevate the entire squad around me, man, so we can put out dope content that appeals to everybody. So that's really what's cooking over here with OGQ right now, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way you got to look at it because, you can only take it so far yourself as an individual content creator. And that really like hit me, this year over the last like year and a half or so. And you need to start building out the foundation of the people around you. And it also allows you to be flexible with what you want to do, because if you start, you got Jordan who can hold things down by himself if you ever need to make him do so. And then it lets you kind of pivot to things that maybe you become a little bit more passionate about. So that's the mindset you got to have. And you guys are, it's no surprise, but you just got to continue to be patient. You go hard in the short term, be patient in the long term, and good things will happen, and good things are happening to you. So with that intro, man, I'm ready to talk a little bit of combine stuff. We had the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the tight ends do their thing yesterday. Now, almost all of the quarterbacks decided to sit out of the 40-yard dash, which is like, who really gives a fuck at the end of the day? Because that's not really what's going to be something that gets a guy drafted higher or really changes the perspective on anything. It's nothing that you couldn't see on film because, it's not like quarterbacks are not like running backs where the difference between like a 4.55 and a 4.45 is huge. It's either like you're mobile and you can move or you can't. And we kind of know that from the film anyway. So what I'm going to do real quick is just kind of rip off like the main synopsis of everything that happened at the quarterback position for like the top guys. And then afterwards, you can kind of add in any spice that you want. Or if you got some like later round dudes that you think are worth mentioning that I didn't really get into, then, you could layer a little bit of icing on top of the cake. But we will start with Mr. Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, ran a 4.52. Very fast. I mean, we knew he was mobile, but that's pretty fucking fast for a quarterback. Yeah. Fortunately, there's two parts of being a quarterback outside of just your legs. You also need to throw the ball pretty fucking well. And Ritter's questionable at that at best. So Ridder, good run. We'll have to see what his arm brings at the next level. We have Mr. Kenny Pickett rip off a light, 4.73, which I love to see because Pickett's a guy that I'm really, really high on in this class. He's probably my favorite quarterback for rookie drafts, unless like something happens where Malik Willis goes like top 5 in the NFL draft and Pickett falls to like 25 or some shit like that. But I like Pickett the most well-rounded. And the fact that he ran a 4.73 kind of just confirms what we saw on tape, that he is mobile. And I think he's not a fucking scrambler by any means, but he is a guy that I think can have like Patrick Mahomes type rushing games where he rips off like 25 yards or 30 yards just because he has that ability. Malik Willis didn't test, but he comes in at 6 foot, 220 pounds. So he's a thick boy. And that's what we saw. He's not going to be fragile when he's running the ball. So no concerns there. Sam Howell tweaked the calf at Senior Bowl practice, did not test. Matt Corral had the ankle injury in the Sugar Bowl, also didn't test. We'll see those guys at the Pro Bowl. But anything else to kind of like add on or take away from quarterbacks or things that you thought were notable outside of Kenny Pickett's Burger King hands?
Yeah, man. Everybody was flipping out about Pickett and the hand size. And I mean, I think he had 26 turnovers, 26 fumbles. It was some wild stat, right?
Yeah.
But here's my thing, man. The dude hands didn't just become small at the combine. His shit's been little, right? His hands have been small. And we have seen him have some level of success, a high level of success at the college level. So while not ideal, I don't know how much I'm moving him down based on that because we knew his hands were small. He didn't measure them at the Senior Bowl because we knew they were small. He had to stretch them out. I think him dropping a 4.7, that was good. And like you said, he's not, I call him a tactical scrambler, right? It's like Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow, you're not locking him in for 40 rushing yards a week. But when pressed to do that in game action, he's got the ability to do that. So Kenny Pickett, the fact that he ran a 4.7, he is mobile. He is athletic. I think he had a higher vertical jump than some of the damn wide receivers. So I think that's really good for Kenny Pickett. And I think just watching Malik Willis, what kind of sucked, and I don't know if you were watching it live last night, Nick, but they would have Malik Willis throw 80-yard passes, and then right after that, Kenny Pickett would go up to throw. And there's just a notable arm difference, right? How much does arm strength factor in? It's all information. Like, I think we can debate that day, for a long time. Like, how much does arm strength actually matter?
Well, but for me, Pickett's got good arm strength. It's just not like, in my opinion, it's just not like deep arm strength. He's got really good velocity and zip. So it comes in shapes and sizes.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. You can argue how that factors in, right? Yeah. For fantasy, Malik is the guy, I think, when you're talking, if all the stars align and he hits, I think he's the one that has the ability to slide inside of that top 10. Here's the issue, Nick, and I don't know if you've addressed this. Everybody's thinking about, I want the next Mahomes, the next Allen. Newsflash for everybody out there: Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Herbert. These dudes, like, that's your top 5 for like the foreseeable future. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be hard for any quarterback in 2022, 2023 to crack that, that top 5 threshold, man. So I think we've got to start not lowering your expectations, but tempering them for all these incoming rookies. You ain't getting Josh Allen and Justin Herbert every single year. Like, for me, that threshold starts, you're talking about like QB8, QB9, because we ain't even talking about Trey Lance, Justin Fields, what they can become. So if you like Pickett at the top, that's cool, man. I think he's all right. I think he's going to be a solid QB at the next level. I don't know if he's going to, what the fuck is going on in my thing? I don't know what he's going to be all time.
Your producers like, get that Pickett bullshit.
Yeah, get that Pickett out of here. Yeah.
He is the top dog. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, there's so many exciting quarterbacks in the game today that it's just become a custom for us to want the next fucking thing coming in. And this class probably just isn't it. I mean, there's upside. I think there's more upside in Pickett than he's been given credit for. I think Malik Willis naturally just has a ton of upside because of his mobility and his scrambling stuff. And like, I don't, you know what? Overall, dude, like this class for me, a lot of people don't like the class because the top end talent doesn't seem to be on par with a lot of the previous year's top end talent. However, from like what we're doing in terms of like fantasy and rookie drafts and dynasty, I would argue it's like one of the most enjoyable classes because there's no top dog at quarterback. There's no top dog consensus wise at running back. There's no top dog at wide receiver. There's literally no top consensus pick at any of the four fucking fantasy relevant positions. So this is a class where you can finally, people are going to have to make their own takes. You know, it's not like you can't just take the consensus at everything and then just ride with that. And then if players don't hit, you'll just be like, well, everybody had that guy up there. So it's not just me. It's like, this is the year that you got to go out on a limb and get your fucking guy. So this is, I don't know. I think this is going to be a fun ass class.
You hit the nail on the head. I've been saying it for months. There will be no consensus on anything until April 28th, whenever the night of the draft is. That's when we'll figure out. Nick, we could offer people $100 to give us top 5 quarterbacks off the board in order, top 5 running backs off the board in order, top 5 wide receivers, and I guarantee the range of combinations, nobody will fucking hit it, man. Like I just don't think there's going to be any consensus, and we'll figure out day 1, day 2 of the NFL draft.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast this morning. I can't remember who or what it was, to be honest, but it was like someone that was at the combine and at the Senior Bowl, and they asked 6 different NFL executives who their wide receiver ones were, and they got 6 different answers on it. So it's like, dude, it's exciting. And I think this combine made it even more difficult because some of the guys that were probably in that like second-ish tier might have jumped up into the wide receiver one conversation. So let's just jump right into the wide receivers, and we could talk some winners, some losers. Let's go like big picture, because combine stuff with wide receivers, especially like straight speed, you know, just 40-yard dashes, it's not predictive at all in terms of future success. But based on combine performances yesterday, like the all-around spectrum of shit, was there anyone that actually like moved in your rankings based on what they did yesterday?
Yeah, so for me in my process, I'm not moving anybody based on the combine. Like I've got my tiers and my rankings pre-combine. I'm gonna let draft capital sort it out. But the reality is I think there was a massive winner yesterday, and his winning didn't just start yesterday. The winning carried over from the Senior Bowl, and I'm talking about Christian Watson, dude. I mean, how can you, whatever preconceived notion you had about this kid coming in, it's like you should switch it up now. I mean, yeah, just 99th percentile height adjusted speed score. I mean, you got it. I don't even need to say anything, but there's no doubt, Nick. I think this kid is what, first round lock, right? Are we saying top 32 lock at this point for Christian Watson?
Dude, so yeah, it's so interesting. I'm pretty sure you're the first person that put me on to Christian Watson because you went to the Senior Bowl, and then one of your podcasts shortly after that was talking about how he was the alpha at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Then I went and watched the film, and I was like, holy shit, this is a really interesting prospect. You start to look at the numbers, and you're like, it's a little bit wonky because he goes to North Dakota State, so you have so much to contextualize and figure out like why he's not putting up the raw numbers and whatever. But when you watch him play, it's like, you know, he could play at the next level. And I think the combine is especially useful for small school dudes because if you watch, I mean, listen, if you're a small school dude that's an NFL prospect, like you're playing at like fucking, I don't know, Montana State Tech Culinary Institute, like of course you're going to fucking look good going against dudes that are in that same conference, because even if you're running a 4.9, the dudes you're playing against are running like 5.9s, right? So you have to contextualize it. So you come to the combine and it shows you what your athleticism is relative to actual NFL players. So small school guys are guys you need to keep an eye on. I don't think anyone had a doubt that Christian Watson was going to test fucking through the roof, but holy shit, he could barely fit on the player profiler page. I mean, his bumps are up to here. 4.36 40-yard dash at, what was it, 6'4", 208 pounds or something like that?
Yeah, 2.8. Yep.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, like the dude is versatile. He takes end arounds for fucking tugs. He is a returner. He can play the deep ball possession. The only real knock I've heard, like some people obviously always nitpick and be like, he's not a crispy route runner. I think you'll hear that for every single prospect in the draft or whatever. He's had a little bit of some drop issues. I know he didn't have that at the Senior Bowl. I think that could be something that might get a little bit of knock on him. But Yeah, I think originally he was probably like a mid-round pick, 3rd or 4th round pick. Then the Senior Bowl happened, probably moved up to like 2nd round draft cap. And I had Brett Coleman on a couple days ago, and he had tweeted out like weeks ago. He loved Christian Watson, and he was like, I think it's the Vikings maybe at 12. He was like, I would love for the Vikings to take him at 12. Yeah, he was on it real early, and I recited that in one of my videos, and people were like, no fucking way. But I was like, yo, if you can get him as a 1st round pick on one of these websites where you get to bet on it, like lock that in right now. And now I can't imagine he drops out of the 1st.
Yeah, he's locked in, man. I'll go with the an off the beaten path and off the wall sort of player who didn't do anything that I still think won because of expectations for some other players. But I think Drake London was a winner as well. And he didn't do shit, right? Besides measure in at 6'3", 7/8. The narrative is better than the truth. I'm saying he's 6'3" because the comps and the hit rate at 6'3" are a lot better than at 6'4", but essentially he's 6'4", but 219. He's close to being healthy. This is what we set ourselves up for failure every year. We do this shit every year. And we had alien type expectations for Treylon Burks when in reality, when you're looking at size adjusted speed, he had a damn good 4.5 at 220 is moving, right? But we come in thinking that he's going to be a 4.3, 4.4. So the overwhelming, feeling and sentiment is he had a bad combine. I think Drake London helped himself by not doing anything. Like he did nothing besides weigh in, talk to the scouts. He sounds good in interviews, but I think a byproduct of him not doing anything and potentially running slower than expected, pulling a David Bell out there. I think Drake London helped himself a ton. And I've been saying it. If I'm Drizzy Drake, I'm pulling the Devontae Smith route. I'm not doing shit. Like I'm not doing anything. Pro day, I'll run some routes, catch the ball, show you my ankle is healthy. But as far as testing, I'm good, bro. Like y'all saw what I did in the Pac-12. You saw what I did with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Michael Pittman on the same team as me. Like draft me in the 1st round and call it a day. I think Drake London was a winner and he didn't even do anything at the combine.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think there was any way that he was going to come away from the combine testing, not testing, where it was like you liked him less outside of running like a 4.78 or some shit. This calling card is not speed. I mean, I kind of look at these, my top 3 wide receivers are some combination of Burks, London, Garrett Wilson. And to me, they're all like really similar players in terms of skill sets because there's not a lot of blemishes in their game. They're like the same player in different body types, right? They're all really good at catching the ball. They're all really good at separating, whether it's like you put it, it doesn't have to be within route running. You can either separate at the line of scrimmage, you can separate in route, you can separate at the end of the route when you're going up the sky for the fucking ball. They're all 3 guys that can do basically everything. And what I love about Drake London too is like, he's 6'3", almost 220, but he can move with the ball in his hands too. He's not a Mike Evans where he's just like catching the ball and then flopping onto the ground. So he's a player. It's so hard not to be excited about any of these 3 guys. Drake London, obvious winner. I think he was always going to get really high draft capital. I don't think that changes whatsoever. I do want to touch on Treylon Burks though, because like his 40 time, it started getting into like the mythological range. I felt like we were playing a game of telephone with him. It was like every time you heard what he was going to run at the combine, it got lower and lower and lower. Like we knew he was going to come in 225, 230. People were like, he's going to run a fucking 4.4. And then he's going to run a 4.38. It got down to like 4.32 or some crazy shit like that. Treylon Burks ends up running. Where did I pull it up? Oh, you're killing me right now. Player profile. Oh, wait, I took a screenshot. Nope.
Was it official 4.55? Was it official 4.55? I know it's 4.5
official
something.
4.55. Okay,
yeah.
So 6'2", 225, 4.55. 86th percentile speed score is still higher than basically every single wide receiver there. It was number 6 among 32. And you basically name any of your favorite wide receivers at the combine outside of Christian Watson, and Treylon Burks' skill or speed score was higher than all of those dudes. We're talking about Garrett Wilson. We're talking about Chris fucking 4.26. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah.
That all of that, man. Treylon Burks was better than that. And like again, his calling card, in my opinion, is that the yak ability combined with the size. It's AJ Brown, same speed score, same fucking. They're the same player basically, man. So it's like I don't understand how anyone could have a negative thing to say about Treylon Burks outside of you not being able to realize that what you were saying pre-combine was just ridiculous to begin with.
And that's what it boils down to. The pre-combine. Listen, I contributed to some of the mythological feeling around Tayshaun.
How could you not? It was fun.
Well, that and I mean, it's going to be interesting, Nick, to see how this evolves over the next 5 years, because I truly think the new wave of sort of speed scouting is GPS tracking. And there are a lot of software companies out there. Shout out to my frat brother, Corey, and RA Analytics. Like he put out a tweet today and it says data suggests no correlation between the 40-yard dash and play speed, miles per hour, for many reasons. Here's an example. Both Jordan Howard and Ted Ginn Jr. reached a max speed of 22 miles an hour, even though Jordan Howard ran a 4.59 at the combine and Ted Ginn ran a 4.28. Don't overemphasize 40 time. I am waiting for the day when everything is just GPS tracking, because Treylon Burks on field GPS data showed him hitting 22 miles per hour in game. Like, so many people look at the 40. There it is right there. There it is. There's Jordan Howard right there with Ted Ginn Jr., miles per hour. And you line those two up in a 40 and Ted Ginn is lapping them twice, right? Once we get to this point, I think we'll be able to really, I don't give a shit how fast you are. It's a piece of information. The 40 is a piece of information. Let me tell you, a lot of the 40-yard dash is technique. You get out and there's one false step, one stumble, you get out of your drive phase a step or two early, you're running a slower 40 time. Put the pads on. Let me see how fast you're moving with the ball in your hands. And like you said, back to your original Treylon Burks, what you were talking about, 86 percentile speed score. I'll take that as somebody who dominated in the SEC with atrocious quarterback play for 3 seasons. I mean, our fault for thinking he was going to run a 4.1. That's your fucking bad, my bad. But at 225 pounds, 4.55 is more than enough speed, bro.
Yeah, dude, this class it was so interesting from a speed perspective, because honestly it was similar to last year, right? Where everybody was running like 4.1s at their fucking pro days, except this year it's kind of legit. You remember last year where there would be like there would be like a tight end who would go over to his high school football field and have one of his homies like film him running the 40 and then pretend like that was an official time or some shit. And like Twitter was eating that up. The times last year were just out of control. And it kind of like translated over this year, but they're actually official. Like you have, what was it, a stat I read today that, let me see, there were 8 receivers that broke 4.4 this year, which was tied for the most in a year since 2006. So it was like, man, you have some top end talent, and then you're putting a bunch of speed behind them where it's like, what do we got? Chris Olave. We still got player profile. You're killing me here. You still got the high school workouts on there, whatever it was. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson both running, I believe, under 4.4s.
Yeah, it was both sub 4.4, both sub 4.4.
Man, they could have both ran like mid 4.4s, 4.7s or something. I still would have been like, dude, I love both of those guys. Wilson seems like a guy who definitely has a little bit more upside just based on like the skill set that he brings. But my take on Chris Olave for a while was always just like, he's very Tyler Lockett-y, man, where like you probably shouldn't have him as your wide receiver one in an offense. Like your offense shouldn't run through him, but it can if you need it to. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a very skilled separator, can make a lot of plays downfield, obviously fast as shit. So he's a fun player. Garrett Wilson obviously has a lot more upside, and now pairing the speed with like the ball control and all the other fucking things that he does really well. It's interesting, man. This Ohio State group is just churning fucking wide receivers out. What do you think about these wide receivers coming out of the Buckeye Nation?
You're right. I mean, they keep, and we didn't even mention Jamison Williams, who was there, who had to transfer to go to Alabama, and he's probably going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft as well. Garrett Wilson, he shocked me, man. I didn't think he was sub 4.4 speed. I mean, I was hammering the overs at 4.41. I'm like, over 4.44, over. That just, in my process, it didn't move anything, but there was definitely an additional box checked next to Garrett Wilson's name, and I think that is really going to put him in that conversation to be the first wide receiver off the board in the NFL draft, man. I mean, he's incredible. Chris Olave, I think you hit the nail on the fucking head with Olave. He's going to be a day one starter in the NFL, and he's probably not going to be the guy. Like the offense is probably never going to run through Chris Olave. I think he's going to be a really good wide receiver too for an NFL team, and he'll give you some of those big blow up weeks in fantasy, but I don't think he's the type of player that the offense is going to run through him. I mean, it didn't run through him at Ohio State. It ran through Jackson Smith-Njigba and Garrett Wilson 2 years in a row. I like the player. These wide receivers are good, man. We didn't talk about George Pickens. The fact that he ran 4.4, good for George Pickens, right? Another green box check. Jahan Dotson, Deontay Johnson 2.0, good for him. Sky Moore looked good.
Yep.
Jalen Tolbert. I mean, this wide receiver class, man, is really good. I need to ask you, because I learned my lesson, Nick. OGQ has learned his lesson, and for me personally, bro, I'm staying away from these 5'8", 5'7" wide receivers. I just can't. I got burned. Rondell Moore burned me trying to find those guys. I love Calvin Austin. It's hard to say how can you walk away from yesterday? If we're just talking the combine, he probably was one of the more impressive players at the combine yesterday, but man, 170 pounds, 5'7". I don't know him, Wan'Dale Robinson. How are you feeling about that archetype of wide receivers for fantasy?
Yeah, I hate that shit too. I think one thing that gets really overlooked, and I'm probably with you in that I'm fading those types of guys in rookie drafts unless they're dropping to like the third, fourth round, whatever.
Right.
There's one thing that I think is not really talked about enough. And if you go to one of these players' profiles, right, like Rondell Moore in particular, one glaring red flag, people like to talk about the breakout age and the target share and the dominator rating. That little like yards per reception box is really important in my opinion, because what happens is you have these dudes who are wildly athletic playing at schools where they're clearly far and away the best athlete on their football program. So naturally, what's going to happen is that offense is going to funnel through them, right? And that yards per reception number is obviously there's a million pieces of contextual information that you could throw to paint it however you want. But realistically, when you have guys that are like that and their yards per reception is like 11.5 and it's in like the 5th percentile, what that tells me is like, yeah, he might have broke out early and had a huge target share, but it's probably because he's just getting a lot of plays drawn up for him. And if his yards per reception number is not 15, 16, 17, that means he's doing less with the actual targets and volume that he's getting. And I think that happens with a lot of these smaller players. They tend to be the most athletic players on the field. So in college, you can rip off, big production when you're the most athletic player at like Purdue or the most athletic player at any of these like small school colleges that don't, have these other tier type players. So I think like one big red flag for me is those yards per reception. Like, what are you doing each time you touch the ball? Not so much just volume. Like a lot of these players are going to get pure volume because they're so fucking athletic and you don't have a lot of other options on those teams. So I'm probably staying away from that smaller type of figure because of those things.
Yeah, I just looked up Rondell Moore's final season yards per reception, 7.7. I mean, and I get it.
Yeah.
He only played 3 or 4 games. I get it. He got hurt, but I mean, it never. Oh man, it just wasn't good, man. I mean, in his best season, 11.3 yards per reception, and 822 of those yards were after the catch. Like, just all of it was just yak, and you can't out yak the NFL. Like, as good as you are, those guys are better. So
it tells you it's like college. He was getting all these screen passes behind the line of scrimmage. So it's like, if they're not going to do that for him in the NFL, you're put in a spot where like, he's not going to win all the time downfield and they're not going to play him as an X receiver,
Well, shit, they tried to do it in Arizona and he didn't work. Like, he couldn't out yak. You're not out yakking Micah Parsons and all those guys, Aaron Donald, all those cats, man. But, Calvin Austin looks good. Probably going to get good draft capital. Fucking Tutu Atwell got drafted in the 2nd round. I think Calvin Austin is a hell of a lot better player than him. But for fantasy, man, a lot of people are asking, what do you do with Calvin Austin? I don't touch him in the 1st or 2nd round. And if he falls and he's a value there in the 3rd or 4th, cool. But just want to get your thoughts on some of those smaller wide receivers.
Yeah, Calvin Austin's a tough one, though, just because there's so many people that I respect opinion really love this dude. And then he came in here and blew off the combine. And now it's like, fuck, he's going to get early capital. I'm with you, though. He's a guy that I'm not going out of my way to draft. If he falls to me at value, great. Like, I have no problem clicking the draft button on him, but he's not someone that I'm probably targeting. I did want to circle back because you brought up an interesting name. Jamison Williams, I kind of feel like he was a loser at this combine because I think most teams probably looked at him as like the crown jewel of this class in terms of pure speed. And now you got a lot of these dudes showing up. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave's, and Calvin Austin's, and like Christian Watson's that are just as fast, if not just a little bit less fast. So if Jamison Williams was in that conversation for like overall wide receiver 1 in the NFL draft, I think this makes it a lot tougher for him with the injury, with having to transfer out, not producing in his first couple of years in college. Like, you have 1 year of production while you're a little bit older. It's like, I think it makes it a little, I think he's low key a loser of the combine. You think so?
I did not think about it from that perspective, because when you first said it, I was like, no, there's no way he's a loser. But his calling card was how fast he was, right? Like, he was head and shoulders probably supposed to be the fastest, if not one of the fastest wide receivers there. But the fact that we saw 13 fucking wide receivers crack sub 4.4, right? It's kind of like, well, uh, what else do I want? Like, do I want, if Garrett Wilson is a 4.3 guy and Jamison Williams is a 4.3 guy, Garrett Wilson's knees are fine. He doesn't have a torn ACL. I know Garrett Wilson's going to be on the field in August. Why take JMO at 15 when I can get Garrett? I had not thought about it from that angle. I think you're right, but I also think where we can become winners is if Jamison Williams falls. And let's play the game that we do every fucking year and put somebody in Buffalo or Kansas City. But if he lands with Josh Allen at wherever Buffalo picks, late 20s, I think he's going to be a value in rookie drafts, because you're probably not going to get any production from him first half of the season. But sign me up for Josh Allen to Jamison Williams bombs. Like, sign me up for that, right? Later in rookie drafts. But I think you're right, and I had not thought about it from that angle. That's a good point, Nick.
Yeah, that sounds fun as shit. Having JMO with a quarterback that just slings the thing, man. He feels like he's the last like 4 years in a row, we've had similar rookie drafts in that, like, you have your prize picks at the beginning of the drafts. It's the running backs, probably 1 or 2 elite wide receivers, the quarterbacks. And then from like the 110 to the 203, it's that mix of like really solid value wide receivers where you're like, okay, I didn't get one of the elite guys in the class, but like, I got a guy that's going to help solidify my roster and has some upside as a wide receiver. And it's, like the T Higgins is, the Michael Pittmans, like the guys that just keep falling into that range where you have no choice but to draft them, but you're not upset about it. We're going to have a lot of guys that this year in that range. It's like the Chris Olaves, the Jamison Williamses, the Jahan Dotsons, where I think he just falls into that range where he might have a little bit more upside than those guys, but like, it's still a pick that you're happy to make, and it's going to be one of those picks that's just a great value, and you're not pissed about it,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Tight ends, another kind of like QB-ish NFL combine performance where I don't think my top 4 rookie tight ends, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't really watched tape outside of these 4 guys, but we have Trey McBride, Weidemeyer, Isaiah Likely, and Jeremy Ruckert. None of those guys ran the 40, so we didn't get actual like 40 times slash speed scores. I mean, they weighed in and had some height stuff and whatever, but it's like whatever. Isaiah Likely did a few of the combine testing. I think he did like the vertical jump, and he was number 1 in that, and then he did the 20-second shuttle, and he was like one of the dead last in that, or second to last in that shit. So it wasn't a lot to like take away from it. Are there any guys that that did perform at the combine that you've been talking about or had on your radar for a while, or someone that we should be looking out for at the end of rookie drafts? Because I don't really know this class that well.
Yeah, Greg Dulcich, the tight end out of UCLA, he looked good. I think he initially ran like 4.61. Sorry if you hear a vacuum cleaner. The cleaning people they're probably going to bust in here in a minute and start vacuuming. But Greg Dulcich out of UCLA, he clocked like a 4.6, but then it got bumped up to 4.71. I like him. I think he's a good player. Like, here's my thing with tight end. I don't spend a lot of fucking time trying to evaluate tight ends, right? Like, are you athletic? Do you hit a good landing spot where you get an opportunity to play at some point? If you do, cool, I'll take you, right? If you're a first-round tight end, I'll take the shot. I think Greg Dulcich, take a look at him, Nick. I think you'll like him. A lot of people were talking about Jelani Woods, the 6'7", 260-pound dude who dropped a 4.61. I'll be honest, even being a college guy, I didn't know much about him. Here's my thing. He's athletic. He's big. If he gets some draft capital, he hits a good landing spot. Like, just take a shot on these guys, right? Because even the worst fucking tight end prospect gets an opportunity at some point, but not a ton out of the tight end class. Grant Calcaterra, Rucker didn't do anything. Kohler's big and slow. I just want the athletic guys at tight end. Give me somebody that's athletic, that lands on a good spot and gets decent draft capital.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it too. I'm going to let the NFL kind of decide what I want to do with the tight ends. It feels like there's literally nothing predictive when it goes to like tight ends in fantasy. It's just like, every tight end that ends up succeeding is athletic, but there's also like, out of 100 athletic tight ends, still only like 6 of them end up succeeding. So it's like,
Yep.
it's nice that we have like a little bit of a baseline of where to look, but you're looking in, it's a fucking 90-degree angle everywhere around. So it's not, it's not easy to fucking narrow it down.
None of these guys are even close. Like, in my opinion, none of these guys are even close. I'm not even going to say Kyle Pitts because that's like no brainer, right? I don't think any of these guys are even close to Pat Fryermuth from last year. You know what I'm saying? So
In the entire class?
in 2022, I would take Pat Fryermuth over every single one of these tight ends 10 out of 10 times. It's not even close. If you got somebody that has a hard on for Weidemeyer or Trey McBride and somehow they're drunk or high enough to give you Pat Fryermuth for the pick that would be that guy, do that in a heartbeat. He'd be the clear cut tight end one, and he'd be in a tier of his own inside this tight end class, man.
Yeah, it's an ugly class all around for tight ends. So again, just let NFL Draft Capital kind of dictate what you want to do there. We'll learn more at the process as like pro days come around. A lot of the guys who did not run at the combine have their reasons, and some of them are injuries. Some of them probably just feel like they're going to test better when the actual pro day comes around. I think we covered most of what we got. Did Ray just call his life?
No, we can't wrap up yet, Nick. We still got some more. We got a couple of players we need to talk about that performed yesterday. I mean, I don't know your schedule. I mean, you're the one with the new headquarters.
I'm good. I'm in a new environment, so as soon as things start going off track, I'm starting to panic a little bit. So like, let's you know what? Actually, Bo Melton, this dude just brought him up. I don't know if you know much about Bo Melton. I'm sure you probably do, but he's a Rutgers guy, I believe, right?
Yep.
I saw right before we came on, I think Brett Coleman, who I was talking about before, said something about Bo Melton just absolutely blowing away the combine. And I think I did not get a good screenshot of it. But yeah, I'm going to try to pull it up from Player Profile. He's a smaller guy that he kind of said reminded him of Brandon Cooks a little bit. And that little Twitter clip he put up made him look fast as shit. Ran a 4.34, 5'11", 190. I mean, damn.
He's one of the guys that I was excited to see because he was killing cats at the Senior Bowl, like absolutely killing defensive backs off the line of scrimmage. There's some routes out there that Jim Nagy put out there, and I really didn't know. I mean, I watch a lot of college, but I ain't watching Rutgers on.
You're not watching Rutgers, yeah.
No, I got other shit to do. But when I saw him at the Senior Bowl, like, yes, he kind of gives off Brandon Cook vibes. He's got a nice mustache on him. You know what I mean? You got to have a lot of confidence.
He kind of looks like Adrian Peterson with
kind of looks like AP. Yeah, kind of looks like AP. But look at that 40-yard dash, speed score, burst score. Listen, Nick, he's one of those guys, day 3 guy. Here's my process, man. Here's just how I do it. When I'm thinking about cats that you're going to take later in rookie drafts, there's something's going to be off with the profile. That's why they're going to be 3rd, 4th round rookie picks. That's why they're day 3 picks in the NFL draft. There's something not there. The production profile isn't there. They're a fucking 5th year senior, 6th year. I don't care about any of that. When I'm looking in the 3rd and 4th rounds, all I'm looking at, does this cat have the skill set where if he's given an opportunity, can that skill set translate? And Bo Melton, separation off the line of scrimmage, check. Separation inside the route phase, check. Speed, check. Like, I just care about certain attributes. And he's one player that, I mean, shit, you've been doing rookie mocks. Is anybody picking Bo Melton in 4 rounds of a rookie mock? So I'm not telling you to go run out there and spend a 2nd round pick on this kid. But if you're sitting there in the 4th round and it's between Bo Melton and some podunk player that wasn't even invited to the damn combine, like, you can do a lot worse than Bo Melton. I think he has done nothing but help himself from the Senior Bowl to the combine, and he's probably going to do stuff at pro day. Just keep Bo Melton on your radar. And if you got people like Brett Coleman talking about him, then he's just as tapped in as anybody, man. So I like Bo.
Yeah, Bo's an exciting little player. I don't think I've heard anything about him prior to like literally 1 hour before we started filming. My only concern would be his decision making, because if you actively choose to go to school in New Brunswick, I think there's got to be a screw a little bit loose in your head. So he's an exciting player to keep an eye on. One guy that's been pretty popular amongst like dynasty Twitter that absolutely like shot up his stock relative to the combine and shit. Don't even worry about it, bro. They know I'm about to announce some Alec Pierce right now. All right. Alec
Talk
Pierce out of
about him.
Cincinnati. Yes. So he comes in. I don't think any of this was that surprising, but maybe to the level of athleticism that he showed, it was, it was a little surprising. But 6'3", 211 pounds. So we're talking about a big fucking dude. He's only 21 years old right now. Runs a 4.41, puts him in the 95th percentile. Burst score is there. Catch radius is there. The agility is a little bit questionable. I was a little bit surprised to see the low agility score because I think when I watched the film, I was like, yo, he gets off the line pretty quickly. I think maybe some of his routes are a little bit more like curved and he's not as like nuanced in terms of a route runner, but like who the fuck am I to start saying buzzwords like that and shit? So we'll let the combine numbers kind of speak for themselves. But like everything I watch, I mean, even Desmond Ritter looked fucking good throwing him the ball. That's how I knew Alec Pierce was a good player, man. So he's running routes from the slot. He's in line. He's producing. Alec Pierce is a big time target, playing all over the field, putting up numbers, and now he comes out and tests like this. To me, he seemed my sort of player comp, maybe not as like fast twitchy, but like Devontae Parker. He's a guy who gets downfield to make big plays, like high points the ball really well. Will be a possession receiver at the next level, but I think Alec Pierce was a huge winner yesterday.
That's a good one, man. That's a good call. And he started off the Senior Bowl really well, man. In day one-on-ones, he was winning, beating up some of the good corners there. And then like he left. Like I don't know if he got hurt. I don't know what happened, but he didn't finish out the week in Mobile. So everybody was a little disappointed by that. So I really didn't know what to expect. I don't know what. Maybe he got good feedback. Maybe he got good intel and just dipped off. I mean, we saw that a couple of years
Desmond Ritter
ago.
was showing up, and he was like, "I don't want to.
I don't want to. He's ruined me for 4 years now. I think that like let's be real here, man. I think the bias that people are gonna have to get over with Alec Pierce is he's a white receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like and we do that. We do this. Slade Bolden. I can just say Slade Bolden name, and everybody's gonna say Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type comps. Pierce is legit. I saw him at the Senior Bowl lined up on the outside. He's not some slot. He's not some he's a legit X wide receiver at that size and that type of speed. I think he's got the ability to play outside. Do I think he's a high-end prospect? Nah, man. I don't. But he's got the athleticism where if given the opportunity, draft capital is going to be big for him, man. If he gets the draft capital, you can't fade him. You can't fade that speed. That's what you're taking a shot on is the skill set, man. And he did look good on film. I'm with you. I don't think he's as twitchy as maybe the agility score show, but when given the opportunity, he was really good. He's good in contested catch situations. And then with that type of speed, he's got the ability to pull away from defensive backs. I like him, man. I'm a lot more in on Pierce after seeing him at the Senior Bowl and then him checking more boxes at the combine. It's going to be, let's see him at the pro day because Ritter's going to throw. He's going to catch passes from Ritter. And let's see, man, he might be one of them sneaky cats to get like day 2 draft capital, like late 3rd round. He gets taken by a squad. He's going to get a shot to produce. So I like the kid, man. And he's young. He's young. Give me that young dude, man.
Yeah, Alec Pierce, big winner yesterday. I think we should talk about David Bell a little bit because
Yep.
The whole like process of just like analyzing rookies is so tiring when you like go on Twitter because it feels like people make a take and then there's 17 different milestones where they feel like they either won or lost. It's literally like, I like David Bell. Oh, he comes in at 6'1", 215. I'm a winner. He tests out poorly. I'm a loser. NFL draft capital, 2nd round. I'm a winner. He's not starting the first week. It's like fucking so exhausting with this shit. David Bell, like he's gotten a lot of buzz in the dynasty community. I know he's probably big in like Devy and stuff because he broke out very, very early. So the one thing, like I watched David Bell and my comp for him, I didn't realize David Bell was this big, but I saw more Sterling Shepard than I saw like a lot of other players. David Bell's a guy who creates separation. He's a good route runner. He's probably got like that spectacular catch trait that like Madden would give a player. That's the way I look at him. Sterling Shepard with a little more spectacular catch rate. So I think he's like a very, very good role player at the next level. And again, one of the concerns I would have with David Bell going to a school like Purdue, again, it's like you look at that yards per reception number and it's low, man. You're going to feed a guy like David Bell a lot of manufactured plays and you're going to let him do things with the ball in his hand because he's the best player on the fucking field. And when that number's low, it tells me, again, it might be a little bit more of a volume thing. That could be a breakout age thing, a dominator rating thing. Like that's where that volume kind of comes from. So David Bell, not declaring myself a winner or fucking loser here, but I've always been on the train of like, I'm not taking him in the first round. He's probably going to be like a 205 type player, 206 type player to me, who I think he's going to be a solid role player at the next level. But like his testing yesterday was,
Yeah.
it looks like what Josh Jacobs' fucking page looked like, man, where it's like you weren't sure. You're like, oh, they didn't update it yet. It's like, oh, they did. It's just only like 1 centimeter above like the actual line.
Listen, man, I talked all that shit earlier about combine not influencing rankings.
Yeah.
Here's what I say. It's not the event that makes you the events at the combine shouldn't have you just wholesale adjusting the ranks, the event itself, but it's the effect of the event, right? It's what's going to happen because of the combine. And what's going to happen, David Bell's going to, wherever he was projected to be drafted, he's going to be drafted lower than that because he did look bad. And I don't know if you saw his 40, it looked like he was fighting to run, man. It looked like he was fighting to run. And what I'll say is that's not David Bell's game. That never was his game. And you're absolutely right. I looked at where I graded him out with his catch radius, body control, one of the tops in the class because his catch radius is insane. He can contort his body to make all kind of fantastic grabs. He's a pretty good separator in all 3 phases of a route, but you could watch one Purdue game and see that this dude wasn't going to run fast. Like he's not a blazer. He's going to have to win with technique. He's going to have to win with precision. His margin for error for fantasy success is a lot smaller than some other players who can win, in multiple quadrants of the field. I think David Bell was a loser. I think he was a loser. And here's the thing, as much as all that breakout, early age breakout, all that shit, all of that sounds good, man. But if he gets drafted on day 3, he's approaching Tyler Johnson levels of like, it's just not going to happen, right? This Devy darling, early breakout, early production. He produced with Rondell Moore, but he fell to day 3 in the NFL draft. He's not an exceptional athlete. Just the likelihood of him hitting, as much as we love Day, it doesn't matter what we fucking like. If the NFL says I don't like them, right? The chances of them producing and then being able to sustain that production is just a lot lower. Like, think about this shit, Nick. Think about this. Jalen Reagor, one of the most colossal busts there was. N'Keal Harry, one of the most colossal busts that have ever happened. These dudes are still on the field. Like, they're still, because they were first-round picks, they're still on the damn field. We're sitting here questioning if Amon-Ra St. Brown is still going to get targets moving forward next year. He was a 4th-round pick, and he balled the hell out this year. So if David Bell is drafted on day 3, the chances of him being fantasy relevant are just reduced significantly, man.
Yeah, and that's like one, going back to what you just said about Amon-Ra St. Brown, had like N'Keal Harry put up the rookie season that Amon-Ra St. Brown did, you would have to, he'd be in like Jamar Chase type level of having to trade shit away to get him. So it's a great point when it comes to draft capital. David Bell is like the poster child. This was the take I put out on film like a month and a half ago when I first started talking about it. I was like, David Bell is a guy who's going to fall throughout the process. He is a guy that people are going to love because they don't actually have to like make a take on him. All they have to say is early breakout age, college dominator rating, and don't have to do anything in terms of like the process and the work behind him, because everybody else is just going to fall in love with him because of those arbitrary numbers. And then you could always fall back on it and be like, oh, well, those numbers said that he was going to be a good player, so it's not my fault. And everyone else said the same thing. And I was just watching him. I was like, I like him. Like, he's definitely going to be a good role player, but I have a hard time imagining that he's like the high. Everyone wants, you want a 2nd-round rookie pick to be a top 5 wide receiver. The upside for him, in my opinion, just ain't fucking there. And you've been saying it for a while that like the NFL draft community is not as high on David Bell as people in dynasty and rookie and shit like that. And that's just going to become a problem for the point that you just fucking made about it doesn't matter what we want to do. It doesn't matter who we want on the fucking field. If the NFL doesn't put him on the field, then he ain't in our fantasy lineups.
Nick, we got some breaking news here in the comments, man. I've been waiting for this shit all morning. I've been waiting for this. This is not good. This is not good, Nick.
Ooh, this is good. This is good for us. We had a little back and forth on Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams weighing in at 194 is a problem in the exact argument that you just made. It doesn't matter what we like.
Yeah.
An NFL team is not going to give Kyren Williams a 3-down workload because he's 194. Dude, And you hear so many like Austin Eckler comparisons to Kyren. And the point I would make to that, Austin Eckler is not getting a 3-down workload unless Melvin Gordon holds out. We might have never seen Eckler's workload if Melvin Gordon didn't hold out and the Chargers were forced to put him on the fucking field, man. That's why I can't, like, those kind of comps once in a lifetime, and every situational part of that fucking thing needs to like hit correctly. There you go, right? Wave to your wife, man. She deserves it.
No, you're spot on with okay, so here's my take on this Eckler. This Kyren Williams thing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people say, oh, not bad, not bad. I just did a quick Twitter search. Here's why I think it is bad. Because he probably ate like crazy for the past 2 months to just get up to 194. You know what I'm saying? Like, think he knew this was going to be a concern, right? He knew going into the combine, I need to weigh heavy. So he's probably done everything in his power to put on weight, and not bad weight because he still wants to run fast. But if he did everything in his power to get up to 194 to measure, newsflash, whatever these guys weigh in at today, this is not what they play at. Most players, college NFL, you lose 10 to 7 pounds through training camp going into season. So if you're talking about a running back that's going to be fed the ball at 5'9", 187, 188, and I know people are going to go to the most extreme. I see Jamal Charles and all of this. Like, those are once in a lifetime type guys, right? Once in a decade. This isn't good for Kyren Williams. This is not 194 is not good. 5'9", 194. You're looking at probably a specialist, like a third down kind of specialist. I don't know. This isn't good. I was really hoping he'd hit 200, 205, Nick. Not good. Look at that.
That's a tough scene for Kyren Williams. I mean, listen, I still think he's a good enough player where if forced into the role, like my comp for him, it's probably a lazy comp, but like I see a lot of Gio, man. He's just like very bouncy and he's very good. I think if Gio was given a chance to be a fucking 3-down workhorse, like he would have been great in fantasy. He just never got the chance. And that might be the position. You know, if things break right and a team wants to give Kyren some run, maybe he does his thing. But yeah, that's a tough scene right now. Let's see.
Tough scene.
I'm out on Kyren, Rashad White, Damian Pierce, and Bam Knight. The target. Oh, you're saying those three are the targets now. Dude, the fuck, man. Combine day is so fun for running backs, bro.
Yeah. Ely, 5'8", 189, Wolf.
Ely always felt like a discount Kyren Williams. Also like bouncy and just like.
Yeah, he's discount and smaller. James Cook, 5'11", 199. It's good for Cook. I'm not the biggest Cook fan, but that's good for him.
I don't
my heart. You don't love him either? Yeah.
I just didn't. I don't know. He's fun in the passing game, but like, come on, bro. Like, what is that going to get us?
Well, since we're here, the people have been screaming for BDGE, Ray GQ, little old fashioned fucking duel over Isaiah Spiller. We cannot not talk Spiller when I come hang out with the big dogs. We can't not talk Spiller, man. So Spiller and Hall both weighed in. They're identical, the same size. They're both 6 foot 217 on the dot. I think Hall was like 5'11" and fucking 7/8, and Spiller was 6 foot and 2. They're the same damn size, both 217. Why do y'all hate Spiller so much, man? Why does the big dog community hate Isaiah Spiller? Every morning I do my fucking show. Every morning somebody says BDGE has him as RB9. What do you think? Noah hates him. Me and Noah. And here's the thing. People think me and Noah don't like. Dude, I DM with Noah all the time. I was like, people think we're enemies, bro. Like, he's like, I don't get it. Why does BDGE hate Spiller?
No, so my thing, I never hated Spiller. When I was watching, I watched like Breece Hall and then Spiller, and I was like, I like Breece Hall as my RB1. When I watched Spiller, I was like, I don't know if I believe he's a great runner, like a pure runner. I don't think them two are very close to each other. So that was like my take. I was like, I see a little bit of like Miles Sanders where I think he gets a little bit too bouncy sometimes when he's running the ball or whatever. And that was like it. I wasn't like, I think that Spiller's a bad player. And then Noah has kind of, ran his numbers and shit. And he came away with like Spiller's just a very, very average runner. So it kind of like backed up what I had as a take to begin with. And then we were like, yo, let's just run with that. And, our entire brand kind of is going to rely on whether or not Isaiah Spiller hits. Now, my whole thing with Spiller is like, my opinion of him as a runner can become irrelevant really quickly because the other aspects of his game can easily see him back into a really, really useful fantasy role. I think he can have a top 10 fantasy season. I would be very surprised if he did it on the back of rushing efficiency. Like, he's really big. So that could mean in a good offense, 15 goal line carries on the year. He's great on third downs. He can catch passes. So that could mean 50 to 60 passes caught in a year. My concern is that, like, if you're a poor runner, if you're as poor as we think he is, that usually tends to play itself out over the long run. One of the things that he has like great going for him is the fact that he's so young, like 21 years old. That automatically puts him in a tier, like, all else equal. Don't look at athletics. Don't look at whether or not this guy's going to hit at the next level. If he does hit, he's got basically like 2 to 3 extra years on every single other player in this draft. Because we have this whole draft class is so interesting because it's like, most of the time we're picking at like guys that are 5'9", 200 and trying to be like, well, he's a good pass catcher. He has elite speed. Let me like talk myself into shit. This year is a bunch of fucking fat boys out here, like 215, 220. And like, we don't really know what they do well. So it's a lot of guys I think can back themselves into roles that are really, really dominant for fantasy. My take with Spiller is just like, I don't think he's that great of a runner. And I think that tends to play itself out over the long run.
That's fair. Here's the thing, man. So in my fucking, I've got this thing now, Nick, where I've got a spreadsheet that just has some fucking weighted categories, and I keep calling it my model. Like, I feel so official. I'm just like, my model, my process, right?
My project algorithm model.
Yeah, my algorithm. Just optional completeness. I have Spiller at a 75.28 and Breece Hall at 75.15. So they're literally the same. The only reason Breece Hall is underneath Spiller, like, and if I change one number in here, is the receiving versatility. I just have Isaiah Spiller higher in how they were used in the receiving game, because for me, I want those, like, as much as I love Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, the reason why they're valued where they are is because they don't ever fucking catch passes, man. They're not utilizing the receiving game. And that's not to say that Breece Hall can't do it, because I think he can. But when I'm doing my film grades, I'm only looking at the all 22. I'm not factoring any fucking thing in about except what I'm seeing on film. And what I saw is Texas A&M actually deploy Isaiah Spiller as a pass catching weapon. I've got Breece Hall higher in contact balance, in rushing agility, power, breaking tackles, all of it, speed. Everything is higher on Breece Hall. It's not a coincidence Isaiah Spiller's not running at the combine, because he's probably a high 4.5, mid-range 4.6 kind of guy, which I say this, I don't care. That's what Javonte Williams ran. Javonte Williams was a 4.6 kind of guy. The only reason I have Spiller higher, and I believe he is a good running back. You don't do what you did. You don't go over 1,000 yards in the SEC 3 straight seasons and not be good. Like, that's just, he's going to be the youngest, I think the youngest player in the NFL, not just running back. I think he's going to be one of the youngest players in the NFL his rookie season. I know for sure he's going to be one of the youngest running backs. I think he's the type of running back that an NFL offensive staff, they'll get him and be like, man, I can mold this young man into like a true 3-down weapon. And we'll see if that happens. And ultimately, the NFL is going to fucking tell us, right? If Breece Hall is drafted in round 2 and Isaiah Spiller falls to the 4th, I'm out. Like, I'm out. It gets adjusted, right? And I do have to give you some credit, man. Shout out to you. I have not publicly done this. You were so right on Ramondre Stevenson. I was wrong. I saw the light early in preseason. I saw the light and I pivoted, but you called it with Ramondre. I just got to give you public credit where credit is due. You were on Stevenson the entire time, even after I shit canned it. He's a slug. He's slow. We went back and forth over this one. You nailed the Ramondre Stevenson pick, man. He's a good player, and I respect your Breece Hall stance and position. We'll see how that plays out. I'll just say this. A lot of people said the same thing about David Montgomery, and he's about to get a fucking contract from the Bears to re-up and run it back with him. So we know volume is king at running back. Now, Spiller's got to hold the damn ball. 8 fumbles with those little hands is not ideal, but we'll see how it plays out. I think Kyren being smaller helps Spiller because at least he's got that requisite size. It's just, this is unfortunate. I was waiting for Kyren, and this is not good, man.
What do you think they go? Just like, I don't know. There's no actual fucking information to figure this shit out, but like NFL draft wise, like actual NFL draft capital, I don't think any of these guys get first round cap, but
Right.
I could see a team like absolutely loving Kenneth Walker. Like, not, I was going to say for whatever reason, he's obviously a very good running back, but like
Yeah, yeah.
he seems like someone that the NFL is going to absolutely fall in love with and maybe go like early second round. But like, I have no fucking read on like if Isaiah Spiller goes in the fourth round, that would be an absolute like travesty to the fantasy community. You're talking about dudes like Anthony McFarland and shit, and like LaMichael P. Ryan were fourth rounders, and you're talking about Isaiah Spiller, who is like this coveted fucking prospect that everyone loves. Do you have like any read on where these like top three guys draft capital wise are actually going to go?
Nope. And a lot of smoke is around the don't be shocked if the first running back off the board is Kenneth Walker. We're sitting here debating Spiller and Hall. A lot of people are saying Kenneth Walker could be the first one off of the board. I'm seeing most of them, Nick, like more mocks, like that composite mock site.
Yeah,
They're like round 3 running backs, like all of them, like Hall,
it's tough.
Spiller, Walker. I've seen Walker in round 2. I've not seen any of them in round 1. I think that'd be a massive mistake to take any of them in round 1 in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
I think it starts day 2. Like who's coming off the board, second round, third round. I think that's where majority of the higher end guys in this class come off the board. And it's like Jay-Z, like 40 is the new 20. The second round is the new first round for running backs.
Yeah, very true. I'm super excited for the NFL draft this year. On that note, though, with Ramondre, man, I'm telling you, I think you got to give Kennedy Brooks a second look, man. I know you say he looks like
Oh,
he's running underwater, but I'm telling you, dude, I think he deserves a second look. This dude, and I also think he's going to run a quicker 40. I was joking about like the thing on Twitter when you posted. I don't think he runs like a 4.5 40 or anything like that. I think he's similar to a lot of dudes in this class that are like 215 to 225, but if given the runway, have a second speed. They're not necessarily guys who can like change direction and then fucking accelerate quickly, but if given the runway, they'll hit it like him, Kevin Harris, like bigger dudes
yep.
like that, where if given the runway, like they'll fucking fly by. Kenny Brooks is super fucking elusive. He does not get brought down on the first tackle, man. I think you got to throw a little respect on his fat name.
I will, because you were right on Ramondre. And because Kennedy Brooks, actually one of the guys I was really high on this year, I thought was going to be a part of this draft class, Eric Gray. I mean, Eric Gray couldn't beat out
Dude.
Kennedy Brooks. Like Eric Gray couldn't get on the field over Kennedy Brooks.
They're a
I would
similar
give.
type of player, bro. And you were the one who put me on Eric Gray last year or 2 years ago.
Yep,
And I
yep,
watched him
yep,
and you had a comp for him. I think it was Kareem Hunt. And I was
yep.
like, I love how Eric Gray runs. Kennedy Brooks and him remind me of each other, bro. They're like one of those guys that they're not flashy, but like you just can't bring them down on the first fucking time. And
Yeah,
Kennedy Brooks came in there as a true freshman, 1,000 yards when competing with Trey Sermon,
I get it.
sharing carries with Kyler Murray. Yeah, you know all the shit. And then Ramondre
Yeah.
Stevenson the next year, he's got to share like all this shit, man. Tyler Algier came in 5'11", 224. We all knew he was a big
Ooh.
boy.
Yeah, we knew he was a big boy, big former linebacker. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
good for Algier. Damn, he did come in as a true freshman, 1,000 yards on 119 attempts, averaging 8.9.
Dude, so he's got I believe he has the career all-time leader in Big 12 yards per carry at like
Jesus.
7.0. And my thing was like the reason I found Kennedy Brooks, the reason he was even on my radar prior to this year is because I was digging so deep to try to contextualize Ramondre Stevenson's fucking career. I was like, yo, why is he not last summer? I was like, what are these raw numbers when I'm watching he looked like really like a fun player, big, can catch the ball, can do all this shit. And I'm like, oh, well, this kid came in as a true freshman, ran for 1,000 yards and beat out Ramondre. Like, he's got to be something. So I remember the name Kennedy Brooks for this year. And when I watched him, I really liked him.
Well, who are you looking forward to seeing today? I know we got to get out of here, but like, who are you looking forward to? I'm seeing everybody talk about Pierce and Algier. We kind of know who's somebody you're looking forward to seeing today.
That's a good question, man. This year in particular, for whatever reason, I've been like really into the film and I've been watching it a lot. And I haven't really put a lot of numbers on my mind because I don't think there's a lot of dudes in this class who are like really going to be make or break when it comes to speed. Like you said with like Spiller, he's one of the top running backs, and like I was going into the combine thinking he was going to run like a 4.57 or 8, right? Like I was not
Mhm.
expecting a 4.45, so wasn't
No.
like really excited for it. Looking forward to Rashad White for sure. I am looking forward to Kennedy Brooks running his 40. Damian Pierce is a guy who is really fucking exciting. He's really, really fun on like a per touch basis. Um,
Kevin Harris. You want to see some Kevin Harris?
so I actually don't like Kevin Harris whatsoever. I
You
am
don't
not a
like
fan.
You don't like Harris?
No. I think Kevin Harris is like legitimately a 2-down guy that doesn't. I watched the film and I was like, bro, this feels like Larry Roundtree 2.0.
I'm just asking, what did you watch? You were watching 2021 film?
Yeah, I was on the Dynasty Nerds film room and
Yeah,
whatever. They probably
yeah,
had like 4 or 5 games on there, and I watched all of them.
yeah.
And he's one of those guys where like my let me see what I had written on my notes, but I remember coming away being like, yo, he just fucking
I saw the Larry Roundtree tweet. I saw the Roundtree tweet. I laughed at that too because I was like,
yeah.
"This
It's
fucker,
Kevin
man."
Harris. My first thing on was oh wait, can't find much 22. Love CTE. It's like he's got a magnet on the top of his helmet, and the chest plate is on the defender's. It's a negative magnet on the defender's
Oh
chest
my
plate.
god.
Don't think he has ever tried to make a guy miss. Like he doesn't have a joystick on his controller.
Okay.
He does have some. I did say he has some really good breakaway speed if he gets a runway, but I felt like he needs a big hole. He's not a liability in the passing game, but I don't think he's like a really like plus
Right.
player. For me, I don't know. I just didn't really see it, and he reminded me of like a very much a 2-down thumper who is not any better than like any other option.
All right, I'm gonna give you a couple of names that I know. One of them you probably have not looked at a second of his tape, and I am not one for YouTube highlight scouting. But Nick, I'm telling you, type into YouTube Ty Chandler. Just look up Ty Chandler highlights, and it's like the first
UNC?
highlight package at UNC.
Okay.
Ty Chandler. He was a 5-star recruit, goes to Tennessee. Eric Gray comes in. Tennessee's a fucking mess because Eric Gray left. Good. Like you just watch it and you watch that ACC Ty Chandler highlight package just to get an idea of him, right? And I guarantee you're going to walk away from that saying, I need to go look at some actual film. I think he's somebody that could really rise. And actually, Todd McShay, take it for what it's worth. I'm just throwing it out there. He was talking about it at the end of one of his draft podcasts the other day. Ty Chandler, tap into him. And I don't know if you've looked into Bam Knight at all. I know Noah kind of likes Bam Knight. He's got kick return ability. I think he can have that Khalil Herbert type path. Day one, he's the team's kick returner. That's all you need. If you're on the active 53, you got a shot. Check out Bam Knight. Check out Ty Chandler. And there was another guy I was going to tell you about, but we kind of already we already talked about him. Of course, fucking what's his name? Pierce out of Florida. I think he's going to look well today. And maybe Deshaun Corbin, Florida State kid. He was at Texas A&M. Think he's a good back. He played well at the East-West Shrine game. So Corbin, Pierce, but I really, really want you to look up Ty Chandler and tell me what you think.
Okay, I'll check out Ty Chandler. I haven't watched him. I haven't watched the last guy you said either.
Corbin.
Yeah, Zonovan Knight is such a weird fucking name to have to remember. Zonovan Knight is a dude that I do actually really, really like. He's got like that phone booth footwork, like his elusiveness. Like you can't really get to him. My concern with him is that like. That was the same thing with Devin Singletary coming out. And he's someone where the combine will probably affect how I look at Zonovan Knight. Because if he runs slow, a slow, small running back? It's like we don't really want to draft those types of guys. He's a slow, small running back who's going to look good on film. And I'm like, that's probably a guy I want to pass on. But like his numbers in terms of like per touch, like efficiency, elusiveness rating on like PFF, Sports Info Solution, they all fucking fit the bill. So I do like Zonovan Knight a lot.
And these are all fucking day 3 guys. All right. So again, I'm not advocating you go out there and take Ty Chandler and Bam Knight in the first, second round. But when I'm looking third, fourth round, I'm just looking at skill set. So tap it out. Noah came in here and chimed in on Ty Chandler as well. I didn't know he was that big, but all right, man. Yeah. Just check him out, man.
Noah watches like literally every running back in the NCAA. It does not matter what school he'll be like doing breakdowns on Twitter on Breakout Finder and shit of dudes that I've never, ever heard of in my entire life. And he's like so into it. I'm like, what's wrong with you, bro?
Me too. He was talking about some kid from Toledo. I literally thought he was joking. Like he's posting pictures.
Like, why are you wasting your time doing this?
Yeah. What are you doing, Noah? You have other things to do. Go hate on Isaiah Spiller some more. Go laugh because he's not running his 40. Go do something. Leave those Toledo running backs alone, Noah. But yeah, Noah said he's built like a car dealership blow up doll. So there you go.
He did 15 hours ago. Noah said he posted his article on Ty Chandler. Underneath that in the thread, here's another one on Isaiah Pacheco.
I think it's Pacheco from Rutgers. Fucking Rutgers, man.
Pacheco there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's the type of shit. Like Isaiah Pacheco. Well, who the fuck is that?
I had a small kind of liking of him about 2 years ago, but I'll nothing ever public. Nothing. I never put any
This
takes
shit
out
must
there.
be
I don't even.
wild for you to be following the storylines of all these players throughout all of college and just see how like the buzz moves up and down like a roller coaster throughout that time.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like in my mind, I'm done with 2022, bro. I'm on to 2023 and 2024. I mean, literally, it's just it's fun to engage in this conversation, but you learn, man, and I think that's the cool thing coming on and talking to you. We need to make it more. We need to make this more frequent, man. I really
Yeah.
respect what you're doing. I enjoy this with you, but as and I'm sure you've seen it, like just the dynasty landscape and how it shifts, right? Like I sit back, I'm watching the combine and I'm taking it in for what it's worth. I'm not overreacting one way or the other. Like I'm learning so much throughout different content creators and people like Noah and Matt Kelly and my team of people that I'm focusing on the shit that matters. Like all this stuff is fun. And in reality, I know Keenan Allen ran a 4.7, Anquan Bolden ran a 4.9. Like in reality, I know it matters to a certain degree, but it's not the end all be all. So it's just we got to do this more often, man. We got to do this more often.
Dude, I would love to. There's not many people I respect more in terms of work ethic and the stuff you're putting out and the preparation that goes into everything that you're doing, man. And don't worry, I hear your name being thrown around a lot from a respect standpoint. I had a little trip out west in Cali and then Las Vegas. There's the FSGA and your
Yep.
name was brought up quite a few times, and I'm like, listen, you got yourself a good one out there if
Yeah.
you're
Appreciate it, bro.
in talks or in works with Ray. So keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, like I said before, short term go hard, long term be patient, and good things are going to come.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Nick. For real, man.
All right, we're gonna log off for one last question. Jerome Ford just ain't it, so we're gonna log off with that.